Hey boys and girls, Andrey Ostrovskiy is back. Today is the International Chess Day, so congratulations guys, it's our day today. I'm going to play one by one this time, so let's see what is going on with the challenges. As usual, I would like to know what is with the sound and the picture and so forth. Just let me know on chat. Hope you're doing well. It was a big break. So basically, I was playing a tournament in Poland, and that's why I actually had to freeze my streaming. There was no good internet there, at least at the apartment I stayed. So let's get back to playing Blitz and so forth. So, Fuchs Rudel would be the first this time. I'll accept the challenge. And I'm playing as black. Alright. So the chat is already quite active. Probably you were missing me, guys. That's very pleasant. Kirsten says stream well. Nice. Alright. So what do we have here? Some sort of London, right? 92. Which means that queen b6 is probably not that cool. So let's just go e6. With the idea of just developing this bishop on d6. There is also a simple idea of just protecting c5 pawn. Okay. And bishop g5, that is something new to me. That is something new to me. So I expected something like bishop to g3. It's okay, maybe we'll just chase the bishop a bit. Bishop h4. Can I just play e5? I'm curious. Fighting for the center. I'm not sure it's the best move, but I feel I'm okay after this. So at least I have some sort of pressure on white's d4 pawn. I have some ideas like e4, and if d takes c5, I wanted just to take with the knight. Looks like just a pleasant position for black. I don't know, bishop on d3 is under attack. I expected bishop b5, but then after bishop d7 I'm fine because I control d7 sufficiently, so a lot of different pieces fighting for that square. And now what? That's an interesting question. Simply castling looks fine. Bishop e7 maybe just to unpin the knight f6. I'm not sure if it is necessary for now. I'm going just to castle. Let's castle. Giovanni says that the junior Ostrovskiy is very active today. That's right. That's right. But I hope that in sort of 5 or 10 minutes he will go to sleep. But who knows? You never know, actually. So there is a funny stuff now. No, it doesn't work. I wanted to take on f3, and after queen f3 to play bishop g4, with the idea of bishop takes f6 and then queen d7, just like in French defense, a famous trap of the queen. But then queen takes d5, and I'm losing. So it doesn't work. What else? Queen e7 looks okay. Bishop to g4 looks okay. Rook to e8 simply. So many different moves here for black, and all of them look quite good. So I'm going to occupy this open file with my rook. Zweihoek's also joined. Fantastic. So we probably have everybody here tonight, except for Don G, but he's still working, I suppose. Alright, bishop g3. Now it's possible to take on f3 and then just play bishop g4. And queen f3 probably loses a queen, no? After bishop g4, I don't see where to go with the queen. The queen is trapped, right? And Fuchs is not here as well. Okay, thank you for this, Kramnik student. Yeah, that's right. Fuchs is not here. Everybody else is present, which is nice. So queen f3 was a decisive mistake. Of course, it was necessary to take with the knight. Yeah. Queen has no squares. And I believe that actually it was better to retreat to g3, not to g5. Well, probably was not that. Okay, take two. So back to Germany, I would say. Basically, in Poland, I had very slow internet connection, but it was quite stable. Here it's much faster, but it interrupts. I am very sorry for that. Looks like, well, just the issue that I cannot really fix. So I'm not really in the power to change that for now, because I'm making my broadcast from my apartment, and there is only one normal internet provider, which provides me with not that qualitative internet connection, as we can see. Well, sometimes it works rather smooth, but sometimes there are just, these jumps. I'm very sorry. That's what I can say in this case. So back to playing, as far as I understand, you have the stream now. You can see me, you can hear me. So let us continue. What I was saying about this position, I'm not sure at which point you actually lost the stream. So I was saying that I don't like the idea of playing bishop g5. So basically bishop g3, I find it much better, because from that position, bishop fights for e5 square. As you can see here, when you play bishop g5 and then bishop h4, I played e5 easily, and basically after that, of course, black has no problems. The other thing is that after knight takes f3, of course, you could have captured with the knight, and position, in my opinion, remains pretty much balanced. But still, if you were fighting for some sort of initiative, probably bishop g5 was a wrong decision. Okay. Let us continue. Let us continue. So for now, it looks more or less stable. Next challenger was Onam, accept. And again, black pieces. Okay. There will be e4, I suppose. But you never know. d4. All right. Knight f6. Knight f3. And c4. Okay, so main lines. Main lines. And here, what do we have? We have Catalan, a closed one. Bishop g2. Bishop e7. The question, all will play or some? Well, it depends. Depends. So castles, castles. And the next move is d5 to control e4 square. Because there was already a threat of playing e2, e4. And we have a transposition to one of the lines of closed Catalan. That's the point behind c6. I mean, you can play like this only if you like playing closed Catalan as black. Otherwise, of course, it makes no sense. All right, b3, let me remember. Bishop a6 is a good idea here. The question, do you have any opening videos? Well, we can say that yes, probably. Exactly on closed Catalan. It doesn't mean that I'm a big expert here, but I definitely managed to play a lot of games against different opponents at different levels. And my stats are quite good. In normal tournament games, I mean. Okay, that goes back to d3. What about knight c6, just attacking d4? That's the point behind knight to d7. So if you play knight d7, if white exchanges the knights, then this means white no longer has this good centralized knight. If knight retreats, then there are some problems. For example, after e3, this bishop on c1 looks rather passive. And what about just knight b4? I guess knight b4 wins some material for black, because after e3, diagonal a6, f1 became very, very vulnerable. And this bishop pins the knight. Now my knight attacks the knight on d3. I don't know how to save the material. Knight takes b4. Well, basically, I wanted to take on b4 with the bishop to attack the knight on c3 and the rook on f1 simultaneously, but then knight retreats to e2. So probably I have to start with the bishop f1, but in this case there is knight c6. Maybe I don't win a material here, because if I take the rook, knight c6, intermediate move, attacking my queen and the bishop, and then if queen e8, then he takes on f1. And white has two minor pieces for the rook, which is a material advantage. Okay, so let's take on b4. We don't win a material here, but still I prefer black's position here, so it looks rather attractive. So I have no problems. All my pieces are quite active, so everything's fine. Twakozex asks about my performance in Poland. So I missed the norm actually in the round 8. So after 7 rounds I had 5 points and I had chances to make the norm. So I needed to win 2 last games, in fact. So I made a mistake in the preparation for the game in the round 8 against another, and the final grandmaster I needed there, and basically lost the game. So that's the last one, no longer changed anything, even in case of my win. But true, I didn't have to lose it. So I played just like a moron in the last game. That was a problem. Bishop b2. Okay, so what to do now? Where to put my pieces? I think the knight on d7 is rather bad, so let's go to the center. Let's go to e4. a3. Back to d6, I guess. Makes sense here. The pawn structure is symmetrical, but as I said before, black's pieces look a bit more active. Rook to c1. Now I wanted to try queen e7, attacking the pawn on a3. Maybe it's not a real threat, though, because there is a retreat of the rook back to a1, attacking my bishop on a6 in some lines. But okay, b4 is what I wanted to achieve, because now c4 square is a good outpost for different pieces of mine. I don't know, let's put the bishop here first. And being covered by this bishop, I can double my rooks, even triple my heavy pieces along the c file, if I want. I think it's worth trying, I mean, just to triple them. Rook c6, rook c8, then probably queen c7 or something. Or maybe even rook to c7, queen d8, queen c8. And at some point my bishop will go away, and we'll fight hard for that file. Knight f4. So let's take it. I think this damages white's pawn structure a bit. Not even a bit. Seriously. And now it's interesting to take on f1, exchanging some material, or not to take there. I have a feeling that this rook on c6 may be trapped. So let's take on f1. And then just, oh, I thought white would take on c6. I wanted to come back with the bishop to c4. Well, in this case, I simply have extra material. Come on. So just rook to c8 and so forth. Decisive advantage now, of course. Because not only do I have material advantage, I also control the only open file, which is extremely important for the side that has the rook. So connection is still stable. Thanks God. In the sense of internet in Germany, you can only hope for God. There is no other force. It's over, basically. Simply over. Any recommendation against King's Indian defense? No, I'm not a d4 player, so I have no idea. There are some tricky lines actually connected to h3 at some point. So something like combination of h3 and bishop g5, not playing knight to f3. One of my friends, Grandmaster Eugene Miroshnichenko, actually played that as white with great results, I would say. So you can check out his games in a database. Maybe this will give you some ideas against King's Indian defense. Queen b3. Okay, so what about queen c4 now? I think the bishop is trapped there, so queen has to take, and I take with the pawn. It's over for the bishop b2 now. Everything started with the e3 move, limiting the bishop, then b4. I mean a3, b4, creating just a prison made of own pawns. And no surprises that this bishop was finally trapped. So it's a good moment for white to resign, I guess. By the way, this bishop on g2 is also quite bad after f3, but f3 was played against knight e4, I suppose. Okay. In any case, it's a very bad position for white here. So there was an interesting moment when white played knight to f4. I had a strong feeling that it was exactly played against my rook c6, like saying, hey, this rook on c6 is hanging, so I can afford moving the knight now, with the idea of knight d3 and then probably knight to e5. That's why I captured it. Here I believe that e takes f4 was slightly better than g takes f4. Although it's still not very good, because bishop remains very bad in either case. But in general, this idea was probably not very sound because of this bishop f1, rook c6, and bishop back to c4. And now I think white has to sacrifice some material to save the rook. Or maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was still possible to play a4, intended b5. Maybe I don't have a direct way of trapping this rook. I don't know, maybe I can play b5 here, and let's say a takes b5, something like queen b7, intending to capture on b5 with the queen at some point. No, this doesn't work because of this very annoying rook takes c4, and if this c4, then bishop takes b7. So this idea doesn't work. Alright, so I cannot play b5, and probably this rook is more or less fine. I don't know. But I have the idea not only connected with attacking this rook with the queen, I also can maneuver my knight towards c6 square, so I can basically try something like queen d8, and if b5, something like knight d7, then followed by knight to b8. But this looks rather artificial, and after bishop a3, I guess it's still fine. So alright, maybe bishop c4 was not that dangerous for white, and probably it was better for me just to take on g2. Having this great knight against this super bad bishop, and the pawn structure is quite bad on the queen side. On the king side, sorry, the king is quite vulnerable, so I can use this somehow, playing knight e4, maybe queen h4, starting just a direct attack there on the king side. I don't know. This position still looks quite good for black and quite awful for white. So that's why I preferred taking on f4 with the pawn, because in the same line, after bishop takes f1, rook takes c6, bishop g2 and king g2, at least the king is not that bad. Alright, so bishop is still very bad, but the king is still okay. Alright, more or less. Alright, that's what I wanted to suggest here. Okay, so yeah, interesting game, but knight d3 is not the move. Basically, cd5 is something that white tries from time to time, but with the idea of taking on d5. In this case, I think it doesn't quite work, so takes on d5, bishop d5, knight takes c5 is a move, attacking the bishop. And if d takes c5, the point is that I have bishop takes c2. And then after queen e2, I take on d5, and I have extra minor piece. And if bishop, let's say, takes here, then okay, I just go away with the knight, and we have interesting situation, in which case I have two minor pieces, and white has the rook and two pawns in the center, so unclear who benefits from it. So I prefer black's position, but I know many players can play this as white as well. Knight d3 is definitely nothing, because after knight c6, I just attack d4. I already have all the pieces developed. White achieved absolutely nothing in the center. e4 is not prepared well for now. I'm going to play rook c8, and I'm feeling very good. Okay, so let's go further. Next challenger was Kramnik student. Have not seen and have not played for ages. And white pieces, let's go. White pieces. Initiative, or no, or punishment. Let's see. Let's see what we have here. Let's try bishop e2, e6, f4. Queen here. Okay, so I wanted to try something sharp here. Can I play g4, then b5 most likely? Anyway, let's try it. I mean, feels very tempting. Oh, done G came, finally. We have everybody here. Everyone is present. Very nice. Okay, let's go. G5. Feels like automatic reaction. I guess to D7, now bishop to E3. Continuing with the development. B5 was played. Okay, so to react to this or not to react. So A3 is kind of very typical stuff here, but it feels like waste of time a bit. Maybe we can continue with the f5 right here. No, it's too much. Now let's play a3. I mean, why not? Now it's time to prepare castling long, right? So let's play queen d2. By the way, castling short is still possible, so maybe we will do exactly that. Maybe no. All right, knight d4, is it a threat? Probably sort of, because e4 starts hanging. So should I play bishop f3 here? Oh, it starts feeling a bit that I'm misplaying it, but I guess e4 should be protected. I think it's no longer a theoretic position. After g4, no, maybe g4 was played in that position at some point, but this one is probably completely fresh. And now knight c4 is a threat. e4 is protected, that is an important thing. I cannot play b4 because knight goes to c4 attacking my queen. Knight takes b5 is an interesting idea, but d6 is protected for now, so it's most likely premature. So let's play b3 simply. And in this case, I think castling short would be a much more logical choice after playing b3. I have to be very careful now because there are too many vulnerabilities in my camp. So this knight on c3 is the main one. Now there is a sort of threat of taking on b3, so maybe knight d4 to e2 should be considered. Let's check. Knight b3, cb3, knight b3, queen b2, knight a1, queen a1. Not a clearer position, but I have a pair of minor pieces, right? And I still can castle there. I mean, the king's side. After that, I no longer have a chance to take on b5. I probably don't have a chance to take on b5 anyway. So let's play knight e2. Bishop e7. Okie dokie, so now let's protect g5. Overprotected, I mean, it was not hanging, but at some point black may think of playing e6, e5, or something like that. So g5 should be protected well. Okay, castles, and now what? Now also castles. Yeah, this way. Rook there, with the idea of d5. Well, I don't think d5 is really dangerous. It's time to come up with a plan. So my plan is clear. At some point I want to play f5 and continue with the attack, but do I need some sort of centralization here in addition to all the stuff, or prophylaxis like queen to e1 should be done? I guess queen e1, just going away from that. Rook d8 in advance and bringing the queen to much more important position here, so closer to the king side. Maybe f2 will be good. Maybe something like g3 at some point. All right, d5, let's just take this pawn. And here, what about just playing b4? Is it something that wins the material or not? So b4, knight c4, my queen is no longer hanging, then I take on c5 twice. Feels like I'm winning some material, so let's try it. And d4 is controlled twice, that's also an important thing, I guess. Knight goes to e4. Okay, now I can take it with the bishop, I suppose. D takes e4 and then b takes a5. This is extra material. Probably after bishop takes e4, knight c4 was interesting. Intermediate move, attacking my bishop. Maybe that was something that could have saved black. I don't know. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, now I have extra minor piece, but I have to be careful because position is still complicated. So let's attack the bishop. Let's protect the bishop and attack the bishop on c5. preventing at least queen takes a5. So if black wants to grab that pawn, then bishop takes e3 should be played or something. Okay, ceramic student resigned probably a bit prematurely. Position was interesting. In fact, after b4, he was not clear. So probably knight e4 is a good reaction, because if white manages to capture that knight with the bishop first, it's still extra minor piece. It takes. Queen c5. Okay, king goes away somewhere. Maybe h2 is a safe square. Even this position is not clear because white's pieces are not coordinated well, and basically white has a lot of vulnerabilities. So something like knight e3 could have been quite annoying, intending to take the rook and to take on c2. Maybe I just overestimated my chances after b4. I actually didn't see this follow-up. So I understood that e3 square would be basically quite weak, but I didn't see this specific knight e3 double attack, attacking the rook and c2. Yeah, I think black is fine here, should be okay, because black has a perfect centralization, and white's king is quite bad here. That was probably the move. Knight to c4 immediately. In which case, I think I have to do something like bishop to d4. And if I have to do something like this, of course, it was better to do this immediately, without playing b4, without weakening my position. My first intention was, by the way, to play exactly this. Bishop d4, and trying to prove that this bishop on b7 now is quite bad. Being limited with own pawns, something really typical for this pawn structure. But black has some counterplay after knight e4, for sure. So c3 is overprotected now, but I have some problems with the f4 potentially. Maybe I'm just fine after, you know, a solid move like king g2 or bishop g4 attacking the rook, forcing it away from the c file. Don't know. I still can push my pawns whenever I want to. I think this position should be better for white. Not a tremendous advantage, but I think white is slightly better here. But who knows? As I said before, black has a great centralization, so maybe because of that, black has sufficient counterplay. Very interesting game. Very interesting game. But I think the most interesting actually left behind the curtain. All right, Phenomenon is the next. Accept. And white pieces again. e4. Knight b3 twice was interesting. So taking two pawns and the rook against two minor pieces. That was interesting for sure. But I'm not sure that it was that great for black. But who knows, maybe it was just fine for equality. And if you have an equal position, of course, you can play it for a win as well. So no problems with that. Bishop h5, God. I know that I can win the pawn after g4 and knight e5, but black has a counterplay there. So I usually play something cheesy like d3 here. I have no time to learn this line because I play bishop takes c6 only in blitz games. f6, knight e2. Okay. Something more or less typical. Now, can I play something really stupid like c4, c5? It's not a correct idea, I know, but just want to experiment a bit. b6. Okay, I wanted to try this. Just damaging the pawn structure. Now look at this pawn, c5, c6, c7. Looks nice, right? Still have to prove that this means anything, though. So let's just gradually attack them. Now I don't think that b6 was a correct reaction. c5 was probably a normal move. I wanted to try b4 and then b6. Okay, doubles pawns, but c file becomes, remains closed. And there is a maneuver of knight c6, knight d4. With the pawn on c6, obviously, there is no such a maneuver. Okay, now I can take on c5 if I want. Let's do it. Why not? I mean, it's a pawn. So I have a better pawn structure now. But black's position remains very solid, so I still have to find the way to exploit weaknesses if there are weaknesses. So let's start with the rook to d1, because at some point I maybe will play something like d4. Queen to d6. Alright, alright. So now there is an interesting choice. d3 is, hanging if my queen leaves the diagonal. a3, f8. I don't really want to take on d6, improving the pawn structure. If I play rook to c1, I'm not sure if bishop a2 is bad. Maybe it's possible. So can I trap the bishop there? I don't know. Okay, let's take this risk. I mean, if black takes on c5, I hope I'm still a bit better. Potentially much better because of the pawn structure again. But maybe, black will have some counterplay against my d3 pawn. Checking the connection is good. Yeah, that is strange. That is strange. I mean, the beginning this time was quite annoying for everybody, I believe. Beginning of the show. So knight c4, if bishop takes, pawn d3 takes on c4. This looks very nice for white, but after knight c4 there will be rook to b5. And my rook on c5 is somewhat stuck. So how to play this correctly? What's my plan? d4 at some point, maybe just right now, I don't know. Right. Don't see anything specific for now, so let's start with the centralization, because centralization of the king cannot be bad in the endgame stage, right? Right. King on e2 looks good. The only potential issue with this is this f4 square, but I thought I would have this g3 move, which is completely alright. Now, let's put the king on e3, I believe. It's a safer square, taking into account intentions of that guy on f7, so that bishop may potentially attack my king. If it is on e2, on e3, everything is alright. Okay, rook to c1 now. One rook is on the c file, another one will probably go to a5 to exert some pressure on a6. Putting this rook b6 to this position. Maybe black should have tried something like rook b5 at some point, I don't know. And at some point I am going to play just d4. Maybe I will try knight c4 as well. We will see. Kremlin student says after bishop b4 there is knight c4. Yeah, I mentioned this. As well. Okay, I think knight c4 is very straightforward decision. I mean, I'm going to take with the pawn creating rid of c5. The idea came to my mind after rook d6, so this rooks occupy ugly positions now. I mean, if one of the rooks goes away, then I win a6 pawn, either immediately or after c5. So I wanted to try just winning the pawn. c5, I just take it right now. Okay. Should I take it or not? I don't see the reason why not. Now I have extra material, extra pawn, still better pawn structure. So have all the chances to convert this advantage, I suppose. Let's put the rook on the active d5 square. Interesting if I can play rook a5. I've just noticed that there is rook to c4. But then rook takes a6, rook c3 check, king somewhere. Well, it's a bit unclear, so maybe rook d5 was premature. On d2 the rook is protected, so rook c4 doesn't work. Okay, now it's time to achieve something in the center, I think. So let's play just this way. Potentially I will have one more passer within this pawn structure. So that goes back to the center. Now h4. Protecting the pawn, now e5. That's what I wanted to try. Okay, knight g5, attacking h7. Going back now, g6 is weak. Knight e4. Forcing the rook back to c5. Now I think h5 looks great, with the idea of capturing this very important f5 pawn. h6 as well. And now fg5 is simple. And now and king f4 with the absolutely winning position. Now these guys are moving. And takes the rook. Next move. All right. So, interesting moment was basically after c4 move. After that, well, position was already quite annoying for black. So after c4, I have only one idea. It is basically to play c5 and trap the bishop. So you could have solved this problem with the help of moving the knight away, but it's not very pleasant because you probably have to occupy c8 square, which is not attractive at all. Knight g6 leads to g4, trapping the bishop on h5, and knight g8 is just miserable. So I suppose that something like c5 is okay. So I wanted to try b4 here, but then just b6. And it's a different situation. Okay, so this is still a better pawn structure for white if you take with the pawn. And this bishop is awful here on d6. But on the other hand, I have a weakness on d3, and you have potentially a great outpost on d4 for your knight. Probably it's even better to try bishop takes c5 in this case. This is probably a good idea, because if I take on c5 and bc5, you have vulnerable pawns, but you no longer have this bad bishop. Which is also a double-edged thing, because this bishop may be considered a good defender of these potential weaknesses. I don't know. So it's a great question. This position, of course, requires additional analysis to understand who's better, who's worse. Maybe it's pretty balanced, don't know. But I do believe it was much better than giving me a chance to damage your pawn structure like this, because now you have really just bad pawns, and the c-file is open, and c6 square, as I said during the game, is not accessible for the knight to go to d4, which is very nice for white. I mean, you still have a chance, of course, to bring the knight to d4 through this maneuver, like g6, f8, e6, d4, but it takes time. It takes a lot of time, and I'm actually starting attacking your weaknesses, and as we can see, once I take the pawn on c5, c6 is already under pressure, and this means you probably never have a chance to play this knight g6, knight f8, knight e6 maneuver, all right? So, you played well after that, but, well, was not good enough to equalize anyway, I guess. So, let's go further. Next one is Sebi, the man who actually played at the same tournament, neither of Memorial in Poland, simultaneously with me. And we had a chance to communicate, but probably not verbally. But anyway, it was a pleasure to meet you in reality, my friend. So what's going on here? D3. And bishop C5. Okay, let's check A4. Takes. Knight to C3, intending knight to D5 at some point. By the way, Artur Navrovsky also supported me massively during the tournament, although he was not present in Warsaw at that point. But he was chatting on Messenger, and that was also very, very valuable. Much appreciated, Artur. Thank you very much. D6. Okay, so now knight d5 or bishop g5 first. Or maybe even bishop b3. I know, let's try knight to d5. Probably it's nothing, but... At least it is the idea behind playing knight to c3. To occupy d5 square. Okay, so h6 prevents me from playing bishop g5, so I no longer have a chance to exploit this penal on h48 diagonal. Good result for black. With the help of such a knight, I can basically cause some problems with the help of c3 and d4, I guess. So let's try it. I also met some guys there in Warsaw. Just made friends with them. And they told me that they were watching my streams from time to time. And also said a lot of kind words. That was really, really cool. Thank you very much as well. So with the help of c3, I achieved not much. In fact, I just controlled d4 square and b4 squares and probably want to play d4 at some point. But I managed to force my opponent to think and to spend the time, which may be also considered an achievement. After knight takes d5, of course, bishop d5 is the first reaction, but it looks like e5 also sensible because e5 forces the knight away to e7, and then I can play d4, attacking e5, and then if e5, then knight takes d4, and sort of weakness on c6 may cause some problems to black. I don't know. Let's try it. I believe that black is fine, but let's try to achieve at least something from this sideline of Ruy Lopez. And that's what I wanted to try, this type of position. It should be okay for black. But who knows, this pawn on d5 is potentially a bit annoying. Let's protect the knight additionally with the bishop, just in case my queen will have to go away somewhere. Just to avoid doubled pawns, I mean. Potentially I can consider something like creating a tandem along diagonal b1 h7. But first I want a castle. Now I feel safe. Now I feel safe. Alright, b4, I wanted to react with the c4 here. Because anyway, my bishop should be somehow improved. And after c4, it's more realistic because my bishop no longer has to protect d5 pawn. So now what I wanted to try is bishop c2. With the idea of probably just queen d3, maybe at some point I can consider even taking on h6 and then something like queen d3 with some sort of attack, I don't know. There are different ideas in such a situation usually. Alright, knight g6 looks very vulnerable, but probably I cannot exploit it immediately. So does it make sense for me just to play queen d3 first? Or maybe just g3. No, queen d3 looks better than g3 because this definitely stops the knight from moving somewhere. And now at some point I can start attacking it. Maybe g3, h4, h5. This is the one idea. Another one is what? f4. No, f4 is bad. It's nothing. Maybe to change the direction completely just to play bishop a4. No, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. Well, at least I told you black should be fine here. So I don't see a lot in this position. I don't see anything specific at all. Alright, let's start with the g3, sort of provocation. So bishop can go to h3, of course. Then rook e1, bishop d4 should be fine. Because I control f3 square, so there is no checkmate. Alright, rook to a8. Looks good. But now what about h4? Is there a good defense against h5? Yeah, there is just... Oh, h5. I thought it would be a serious weakening of the position, but maybe black is still okay, even after this. Ah, black is still fine. Okay, I completely overestimated my position. So let's play solid chess. It's time to play solid chess, otherwise I'll be punished for creating so many weaknesses. Now there is a possibility to bring the knight to c6 at some point. Probably it's a good time. Oh! Almost a great blunder. I mean, I thought queen f3 was decisive, but then queen e4 was possible, so... Wow. That was really close. That was really close to losing the game. Now I think I'm better. Yeah, it's a checkmate, basically. Alright, I won only because of the time trouble, for sure. So black was absolutely fine. Black was doing well. So somewhere here after b3 and bishop h3. I think bishop h3 was not even needed. So something like immediate rook e8 looks great. Because now you have an interesting maneuver. Just knight f8. And then you're completely safe in the sense of that checkmate. So probably there is not much to do, but should be alright. At least there is no checkmate. Okay, I took here, takes here, knight c6. Yeah, here I somehow missed this queen f3, so probably knight c6 was not that great. But queen e4, yeah? And feels like I'm controlling the situation. So if queen takes e4, then bishop takes c4, and b4 is hanging. This shouldn't be a big problem for black, I think. So there is a counterplay like this, rook a3, just attacking the pawn on b3. Maybe immediately, maybe after taking on e3. No, taking on e3 gives me rook e3, and b4 is definitely a problem because b3 will be protected. So exactly this way. But now I have some ideas like bishop takes, bishop g6, pawn takes, and feels like black has too many weaknesses here. But maybe black is still fine, because if I'm losing b3, I'm probably losing a lot. So who knows, maybe I have to play something like this, right? Rook e3 and b4 drops. Yeah, white should be better here. Don't know, so just a slight pressure because of this d5 pawn. Maybe b4 was premature. I think that black should have treated this pawn as a weakness, and after b4 I just play c4, and actually I no longer have a problem with protecting it. I guess that to start with, this bishop d7 is probably not the best position. I understand that putting the bishop on b7 looks terrible, but it should have been considered at some point. But alright, bishop d7 is fine. Castles, what is the best way to play this position? Most likely just to simplify it a bit, because black has problems with finding good squares for all of the pieces. Maybe knight g6 immediately here, and then try knight e5, knight c4. That's an interesting thing. So there is this square when black has a pawn still on b5. And if I play f4, I just weaken a lot. And probably it's not very pleasant to play such a position. So like rook e8, let's say, attacking the bishop. Then queen goes to f6, just like in the game. But with the pawn on f4, it's already like a bit vulnerable here. Don't know. So complicated stuff. Complicated stuff. Thanks for the game. Next one is shelling forward. All right, let's fight. Playing with white. Let's go. Usual stuff. If we talk about recent games. Not sure if it is a good idea in general, but it changes the pawn structure a bit. And now at least black has more pawn islands than I. Not sure if it matters. So e5 looks interesting. But then what? Knight to e5, knight takes e5, rook e5 is nothing, most likely. Don't know. How to exert pressure on black's position here. Let's take, I don't know. It feels like opening the e-file is interesting. Probably doesn't give me anything immediately, but at least I have the e-file, and this pawn on d5 is slightly vulnerable, so maybe we'll have some chances there. Of course, I'm not an expert here in this opening line. I never replay it except for games against Schelling. So only blitz, all right? Bishop d7. So let's put queen on safer position and just wait for now. Okay, rook there. Now I think this knight can go to f3. Of course, this placement of knights is strange. And it's much better against Black's other setup. But okay. I'm going to try to make it work somehow. Maybe it's already run. Maybe it's already run. Because I'm a bit behind in development. I'm a bit behind in development. Rook a4. Something really creepy. Right, if I play knight e5, there is obviously something like bishop f8 or bishop d6. It's bad. Okay. I understand. It's bad. But everything else was even worse, I suppose. So let it be like this. Knight g4. Can I go completely crazy like knight f7 and then bishop d5? Anyway, I don't have any other ideas here. So 2 minor pieces less. And most likely no compensation. But I still have to play it somehow, so at least we have a lot of pawns. I should have played that faster because now, in addition to material disadvantage, I have the problem with the time. I have only 1 minute. But okay, never mind. Let's centralize the pieces. Yeah, this is lost. This is lost, pals. This is lost. No, it doesn't work. Nothing works here, but okay. let's keep on fighting for some time. Yeah, everything is under control. Everything is under control. Pair of last tricks. Yep. Disaster. Complete disaster. That was complete bullshit to play knight h4 and knight f3, I believe. So probably ed5 was already a mistake, but okay, ed5 was probably normal move. But then knight h4 was complete disaster. So it's much better to play something normal, like, you know, knight to f1, let's say, bringing it to e3 at some point. Yeah, black has a bit more space for now, but I don't think it's really something serious. So after this, obviously, h6 is a correct move. I don't know, maybe I should have tried rook a4, or maybe d4 immediately, like trying to simplify the things. I saw this d4 possibility, but I thought that the sacrifice, let's call it this way, would offer me a bit more chances, but I was not right. So after this, of course, knight g4. I somehow forgot that I don't have... I basically have the pawn on d3 still. In my mind, it was already somewhere, and I thought that knight g4 wouldn't be possible, and I would have some sort of threat of bishop takes d5 or something. So I have no idea. Yeah, and of course, after knight takes f7 and king takes f7, much more interesting was to play d4. I don't know why didn't I play that, because here, in addition to queen g6, I have the threat of queen goes to h7, and bishop d5 is still there. Oh, maybe d4 was a move. Look at this. Yeah, black has just tons of material here. Let's say bishop h4, queen h7, but I have very active queen. I don't want to say I'm winning here, but it looks at least like I should have a perpetual at very least, right? So king f8 is probably bad for black because of bishop takes d5, I don't know. But after king f6, what is going on here? I have a lot of possibilities to capture something, but I'm still like, I don't know, so many pieces down. I don't know what is the correct capture here. Is it d5, h4, or d7, or what? Okay, probably taking on h4, too materialistic, but maybe I still have some chances, I don't know. Taking on d5 with the bishop with the threat of bishop e4, I have no idea. But that was much more interesting than what I did, right? So, just d4, come on. Of course, bishop d5. Probably bishop d5 was a decisive mistake, because after king g7, bishop h4, that's the problem. So I thought I would play d4 after that, but that was complete misunderstanding, because bishop takes h4 and there are no threats. No chance to bring the queen to the attack anymore. So the only chance here is probably to take on e7, but that's a complete bullshit. So knight takes e7 at least, or rook e7 is also winning probably. So yeah, bishop d5 was a decisive mistake. After d4, maybe I still have some chances. At least to survive it, I mean. So this threat of queen h7 is quite annoying, and queen g6 is also quite annoying. Don't know. Have no idea. Let us continue. Thanks for the game. That was nice. So, you know, after finding this d4, maybe this sacrifice was not that stupid. It was not entirely stupid, at least. Okay. Next one. e4. c5. Yeah, why didn't I play d4? Come on. Maybe instead of taking on f7, black could have captured on h4 first, by the way. That was interesting. Okay, let's focus on this guy now. Don't remember if that is correct. Knight f6, okay. I can play e5, I guess. Yeah. As far as I remember from my childhood, it's quite a typical reaction here. Too many hanging stuff, you know. Hard to calculate everything quickly. But I have this check. Is it something? I don't think so. I think black should be completely fine. Maybe bishop d7 even was possible, I'm not sure. Okay, now let's attack this d4. And kind of extra pawn, right? So that's why I think bishop d7 instead of knight d7 deserves serious attention. Because now, yeah, I don't have... Oh, alright, queen g5 is possible. Everything's fine. Everything's fine for black here, I suppose. So knight f3, queen g2, rook g1, queen h3. That is nothing absolutely for white. Without the light squared bishop, losing g2 will be just a disaster, positional one. But in any case, black is better now. Black is just better. Okay, so let's just castle and play as if nobody's watching. Yeah, it's a shame, of course, to get such a position as white, but alright. Black is just better, positionally. The only stuff here is to save the king, I think. Maybe even f6 deserved attention to prevent this 95. Or this way is also quite good. Well, black is playing very well, I would say. Black is playing quite good in this game. But what if I play g4? Here is f6 square, right? Right. But if black plays f6 himself, g4 is possible, right? Right. So let's wait a bit. Rook to c8. Black is gonna play b5, I think. So let's prevent it with the help of a4. Maybe even a5 at some point. h6. So now f6 is prepared, right? Right. It's time to do something, in fact. So maybe rook e3, f6, rook f3, queen goes to h7. Still nothing, absolutely. Or even queen h5 is possible there. What if I just play g4 here? Just queen h7, right? It would be just a weakening of my position. But to be honest, I don't see anything better. So it's miserable to develop the bishop on d2 or e3. And I can blame only myself for this problems because I did everything myself earlier in this game. Get in this position. But queen f6, so f6 is no longer a threat, at least for some time. So how can I possibly create at least a sort of problem for black? I don't know. I have no idea. So let's play a5. Let's start with this. Just fixing the pawn on b7. Then probably f4, g5 at some point. Yeah, let's do this stuff. So at least grabbing some space, right? Of course, the absence of light squared bishop. Oh, taking it finally. So now we have quite an interesting pattern. You know what I'm talking about, right? So we have opposite colored bishops. Is there an immediate threat? I don't think so. So let's play h4. Opposite colored bishops in the middle game. Of course, it can be an endgame immediately after queen d3 now, but still. Let's be active. Queen there. Completing development, I think. Okay, rook was about to be trapped. So bishop f2. f5, okay. Very tricky stuff. Let's take it. Now, queen g4. Have no time to evaluate everything properly, so have to be faster at least. Okay, let's take it. This bishop was potentially very annoying. Yeah, probably now I'm much worse. Or maybe no. Don't know. Position is complicated. Or maybe it just looks complicated. No, it just looks complicated. In fact, black should be winning here. Okay. Oops. Oops. Oops, I lost some time. Wow. Already in a winning position, but okay, I deserved actually this loss because I was playing like a complete idiot. Okay, nothing to comment here. Very poor game. Ready forever is my next opponent. Let's play. Ready forever. Okay. losing all the rating points. So there was 3,054 at the very beginning of the show. Now it's only 3,005. Oh my god. That's fine. I'm going to win all these points back one day. Oops. So the 1 point is here, or half a point or something. I hope. If I manage to convert it, of course. Well, probably a premature resignation, but bishop d7 was still something. So bishop takes a8, queen a8, some sort of compensation because of light squares. But of course, if white plays correctly, it should be absolutely winning. Okay, very quick game. Next one, I have drawn against an ant. Wow! Accept. Let's play. Let's play, my friend. That's nice. Question from Twahuzx. When have you started thinking about virtual rating points, Andrey? It was sort of joke, but I just have an awful sense of humor, so it was not very, funny. And it didn't even sound like a joke. Okay, so come on, my friend. Are you still online? Yeah, it says you are. So please start the game. I want to play against the guy who drawn against an ant. Because I've never ever played against an ant myself. Okay, maybe next time. Abort and somebody else. Xakas. Right? Right. Accept. And Catalan again, right? Right. There will be Catalan. d5 immediately, okay. Should be position that is slightly better for white. But b3 is not very ambitious, I believe. So there are different ways of playing it, so let's play just knight c6. I suppose it cannot be that bad. Cannot be that terrible. So let's try the same, like bishop a6, exerting some pressure there, then rook c8. And now the question, what to do? So knight e4 is interesting. Change of the pawn structure. Bishop b4 can be also considered as a move. Bishop d6 as well. Even b5 followed by b4 is something that black sometimes plays here. So I don't know. Which one is better? I'll just play knight b4, some sort of provocation. I mean, I want to provoke this a3. And then knight goes back to c6. And then I'm going to attack this a3 at some point. Or maybe even attack b3 with the help of knight a5. So after knight a5, this b3 will be much more vulnerable than before. And if b4, we already saw that, so this weakens c4. But in this particular case, maybe it's not that dangerous for white, but who knows. Bishop c4 looks very tempting to try. Let's put it there. c4. Good square. Okay. So now, b5 followed by a5 looks very typical stuff. a5 immediately can be also considered, but I guess b5 should be played first. And now the question is to play bishop d3, or if I play bishop d3, there is now b3. I guess I should play a5 right now. That's probably a bad idea. So let me think. If knight takes c4, can I play a b4? Okay, never mind. It didn't happen. So let's take with the knight, I think. It's important to control b3 additionally. And if knight takes c4 in addition to bc4, which is nice, controlling b3, I also have knight takes c4. So now white creates an isolated pawn in his camp, but activates the pieces a bit. So what is more important in this situation? I don't know. Let's see. I control d5 sufficiently so I can hope for comfortable play, I think. And now, well, several options, including just knight to d5 or bishop d5, simplifying a lot. Dunno. Everything looks quite playable here for black, including knight takes c4, just taking on e4. But I don't think that knight d2 feels very good, so let's put the knight on d5 simply. Nice blockading position. Question is, what is the next stage? What is the next sort of operation, plan, and so on? a3 looks like a weakness, but do I have enough time and resources to attack it somehow? I'm not sure. Right now b5 is under pressure. b5 is under pressure. But I can take on c3. If bishop takes, I take on a3. If rook takes, I can take on d4. But this makes this bishop b2 somewhat active, so I'm not sure in that. Now, probably knight takes c3 should be just okay. Should be just fine. But I'm somehow tempted to overprotect my vulnerabilities here. Maybe to bring the rook to d8 first. And then to c. Because this sort of stuff is just a simplification. And simplification is a good thing when you play against an isolated pawn, I suppose. The only thing I didn't notice is that the rook is coming to e5, but probably it's not a big deal. No, it also didn't happen. Okay, let's bring the knight to c4, attacking the bishop and pawn e3. Probably I'm very close to winning some material here. Probably just close, not that I win it. I don't know. Zweihuser says, move to Germany. After Kroningston said that he had a bad internet. Kroningston, this will not change the situation. I mean, internet here in Germany is also very bad. So, knight takes a3 now. Looks like a move. attacking the rook on c2. I expected rook to b1 with a similar idea. Now I have simply extra pawn. And the bishop against the knight and this passer on the b file. Should I simplify even more after rook c1? I think it's possible. If I want bishop b2 is also a good move. Just attacking d4, but then rook goes to b1. Well, I don't know. Let's try to convert this one. Want to attack d4. That's why bishop g5. And now it's time to bring the king to the center to dominate this position, I think. I'm playing not in a very convincing way, but I think there should be something like a took swung at some point. So white should lose his d4 pawn. It's 24 seconds only, but my opponent has the same situation on the clock, so. Alright, this should be winning, right? Or not? That should be. Should be. Should be winning. Okay. So, interesting game. I don't think that CD5 is very ambitious, but after CD5 we have symmetrical pawn structure. I don't think that white can actually hope for great advantage here. But even if you play something like this, I think it's better to stick to the system of development based on mainly queen to a4, bishop f4, something like this. Maybe knight e5 immediately. Sometimes in such a situation, white just plays bishop g5, takes on f6, e3. Getting rid of this bishop because, as you can see, anyway, after b3, it's quite passive there, and b2, it's doing nothing. Absolutely. So why not to grab the knight on f6? After all, position is not that, open to be afraid of pair of bishops. Maybe bishop f4, I don't know. So I don't understand cd5 at all. I mean, it simplifies the position too much. That's what I mean. Okay, so next one, let me win. Let's accept this one. And most likely it will be the one. No, probably one more game after this. So d4, knight f6, because we had a break caused by my very bad connection at the very beginning. So I think I have to compensate it somehow. Okay, knight f3. Can I play c5 here? I don't remember the theory. And again, we have the same, like e6, bishop d6, then. Like in the very first game. Yeah. But now bishop g3, that is the correct approach. Castles means that probably white is not going to attack me. At least heavily. And this means I can take on g3. And what about just playing rook e8? It's a stupid move. I think queen d6 was much more logical. Preparing e5 or maybe queen c7. Or maybe just taking on g3 was premature, but the point is I'm almost sleeping already, so that's why I'm playing these stupid moves. Can I capture it? I think yeah. Just to try to justify the position of the rook on the 8. I mean, to have a fate square for the knight. But come on, it's just disgusting how I play this position. Alright. White is doing well, of course. White has slightly better position now, I think. Let's try to, you know, block everything here. No, probably it will be the last game because I don't feel like I can provide the quality anymore tonight. Somehow very tired. Very, very tired now. So Jose asks about c4 with knight c5. It's double-edged because after c4 you lose d4 forever. And then once knight from d2 gets to d4, it starts feeling overwhelming and almost hopeless for light square bishop of black. That's why I usually avoid playing something like that. But this position is also very bad. So this pawn on e5 is already a passer. Yeah, now goes to f3, intending to occupy something like g5. Yeah, white is just enjoying his position, I believe. c4. Let's take it. Very dangerous. But at least my bishop is now sort of alive, right? Maybe I'm just blundering something very simple. Okay, knight g5 doesn't necessarily create a threat, so probably I can just play this. Maybe it's a waste of time. e6 was controlled by my knight, that's what I mean. Now what? Let's play rook d8. I thought, you know, it would be just an epic comeback after such a long break, but it's a no-full comeback. I lost 2 games disgracefully. And this one is no better. I mean, even if I survive it, it's a very bad game. Very bad game of mine. Okay, it's time to come up with sort of counterplay somewhere, but I don't see where. Probably g5 should be played here somehow. Let's try it. e6, okay. Isn't it something interesting for me? No, probably there is nothing interesting for me in such a position. G4, just queen c3 check. King goes away. Knight goes away. So what? Nothing. Nothing, absolutely. Can I take on f3, then gf3? I have nothing again. So knight to g6, probably just to continue with the idea of blockading that pawn just in case. I don't know. Let's try it. Because I don't see anything after g4 because of queen c3 covering d2 square, so there is no queen d2 follow-up once the knight goes away. And this pawn looks rather annoying, so that's why I put my knight on g6 to control e7 square. Now to queen c3, there is at least a threat of queen d1 or something. At least looks like that. And also I want to take on f4. Maybe this will give me something. Some chances, I don't know. So now check on d1, just bishop f1, right? Right. Nothing. Knight to h4 maybe then. Position looks lost for black. With such a pawn on e6, it should be lost. This or that way. At least I have some checks. But it's anyway very bad. Is there a direct threat of a checkmate or something? No. If I play queen h4 though, there is just queen g3. And this pawn promotes. So let's take here. I consider this is my last chance. Now king g6. Oh, yeah. It's over now. It's over now for black, like in 2 moves. If white finds it, yeah, nice. Very nice. Now it's time to resign for black. But I will make one more move. Yeah, queen h4. Yeah, white found everything. White found everything here and won the game. All right, I will not even continue this because you can see everything yourself. My queen is heading there on d8 and it's over. Okay, resign. Thank you very much for this game. You won in a very good style. So basically I did everything myself in the sense of making my position really awful in the opening, but well, your next game was quite logical and quite good. So maybe you could have played a bit better, but anyway, the way you played was just good enough to win the game. Okay, so queen f6, then queen takes f6. Queen f6 was not possible here. So queen f6, just queen f6. And it's over. Maybe you wanted white to play queen f6, but I think knight f6 is great. Because of this line with queen g3. That was amazing. I mean, I noticed that only after I played king g6. So I saw that immediately, this skewer. Before that, I thought I would have some chances here because, well, if the knight goes away, I have queen h4, but no. Yeah, that was great. And why didn't I play queen h4? Because queen g3. And I didn't see how to stop that pawn. So it just promotes. Like queen f4, knight f4, e7. No way. I mean, e8 is the next move. Yeah, very nice game. Very nice game. And it's a great sign to finish the show because, as you can see, I'm starting just blundering everything. It's no longer interesting to beat me in such a state of mind. Many thanks for being with me. Many thanks for your patience. Again, there were some technical issues. As you know, It's not entirely my fault. Yeah, I do my best to prevent that, but sometimes it simply doesn't work because of my internet provider. So, in any case, wish you a great weekend. Once again, congratulations on International Chess Day, and see you very, very soon, hopefully. Bye bye.